you might die. Just poof. The attraction is attracting. Title literally tattooed on me. I need to calm down. I get too excited. Hello my loves, if you're new here, my name is Lily. I am an anxious girl who loves to read. And if you're not new here, then welcome back. I am the type of girl who loves a good interconnected standalone series, and I will make it my entire personality when I find one that I love. So here are some of my favorite interconnected standalones of all time. Let's jump into it. Grab a coffee or a hot chocolate or a tea, whatever your poison is, sit down and take some notes. We're gonna start with my latest obsession, and I am not kidding when I tell you guys that I finished the last book in this series yesterday. Last night I read the last page of the last book in this series, and it was the best conclusion to an interconnected standalone romance series ever, and that is the Sparrowfall series. I got the first 3 books, binged them in like 4 days. I got the next 3 books, binged them in like another 4 days. These are so easily consumable, but they are not like any other romance book. These are like romantic suspense. There is some really dark stuff going on in these books, some really massive like life or death situations. So it's not just like, oh, miscommunication, they could have been together all along, and then if they just said 3 more words to each other. No, that's not this. This is like, you might die, you know, or the person you love could be murdered. Like it's some really deep shit going on. But this is probably one of the best found families I've ever read, like top 3 easily. We start off with book 1, which is Fragile Sanctuary. I'm not going to go through all the books, but because this is the first book, I'm going to be recommending this, because if I recommend the other books, I will be giving you spoilers. So in the first book, we meet our FMC Rhodes, who is a florist, and she is moving back into the house that she lived in with her family. Her family is gone, and she then, when her family passed, moved in with her best friend's family, who is a foster family. So her best friend's mother, Nora, takes in foster kids. She has 2 biological kids, which are 2 of the main characters in the other books. This is gonna sound so messy. She also has an adoptive son, who is another one of the books is about, and then she has a bunch of foster kids. So she fosters Rhodes after Rhodes' parents pass away. So she has basically grown up with all of these foster kids, and with Nora as like a second mother. That's what makes this such a good found family, because all of these foster kids come from pretty dark backgrounds, and that just makes all of their bonds so much deeper and so much more emotional. So this is a brother's best friend romance. So one of Rhodes' foster brothers, his best friend, who is a grumpy constructor with a dark past and many secrets, he's helping her renovate the house that she lived in with her family. But when she gets into a bunch of mysterious accidents that appear not to be accidents, she needs his help because of his past. He has a special skill set that can help her figure out who is targeting her and why. I know that I like butchered that explanation because it's so complicated and I can't say too much because then I will spoil it, but just trust me, it's such a good found family series. Like it's incredible. Next is one of my absolute favorite authors, and this is loosely interconnected. It's not one of the like most intertwined series ever, but they are all of this author's romance books that are like women in STEM books are interconnected in one way or another, and that is Ali Hazelwood. And it's basically all the books here along with Love on the Brain. I have it back here somewhere, but it's not my favorite, so I didn't take it out. Ali Hazelwood, the queen of a cute, quirky, whimsical, but steamy and so romantic romance books. All of the couples are connected to each other in one way or another. With Not in Love and Problematic Summer Romance, they're siblings, so it's the brother in Not in Love, and then it's the little sister that Problematic Summer Romance is about. These are 2 best friends that like two guy best friends. One of the guys is the love interest in this one and another of the guys is the love interest in this one, and Deep End meets the characters in here make an appearance in Deep End, so they're loosely connected, but they are in the same like universe, if that makes sense, even though it plays out in our world. But because it's becoming a movie, even though it's not my absolute favorite, because that's love theoretically, just putting that out there, I don't think that book gets enough hype and love, but it's becoming a movie. So The Love Hypothesis, which is also the book that got me into Ali Hazelwood, this is what we're gonna be talking about. But this is a book that plays out at a university where Olive, the PhD student and a scientist of some kind. There's many big scientific words in these books that I do not for the life of me understand, but somehow it still works because it's Ali Hazelwood and the woman can write. But Olive has gotten into some trouble. She needs to find someone to date because her best friend is in love with her ex. Not like ex-ex, but they were involved. He is her ex. And Olive wants her best friend to feel like it's okay that they're dating because it doesn't bother her, but her best friend doesn't really buy it. So Olive, in her panic, kisses someone at the university who just happens to be the grumpy and very feared Dr. Carlson. And he agrees to fake date Olive because it will be good for his look at the university, to show that he's stable and that he's staying at this university because many universities want him to work for them. And it's good for her because then her best friend can date her ex with no issues. And I know that sounds pretty juvenile, but this is so good. Like it's so good. And there's a deeper, darker plotline in this too. And what's so good about Ali Hazelwood's Women in STEM books is that it really raises the sexism and issues that is brought on by sexism and misogyny in this world. She really raises those, and she really shows how problematic that is and how unfair and how wrong it is. And I absolutely love it, and I just love how witty and quirky these books are. They're fast-paced, they're easy to read, but they have a deeper meaning, and the romance is just so good. I don't know why I can't speak about the books I love once I actually start talking, because I have so many thoughts and emotions in my head that I want to express, to be like, read this please, and then the moment my mouth opens, it's all just gone. Just poof. Speaking of amazing romance authors, our next author is Abby Jimenez, and I have two interconnected standalone series that she has written, but these two series are also connected because they play out in the same world, but they can be, or like the same universe, but it's our world, if that makes sense. But they can be read as separate trilogies, so you don't have to read one to read the other. First one, if you want to read them as like interconnected series and not just an interconnected trilogy, I'm making a lot of hand movements that I don't know why, you should then start with this one, and that is, it's been a while, The Friend Zone. I think this is in order because I read them in the wrong order. The Happy Ever After playlist, which I read as book 3, but it's book 2, I think. I hope so, unless I'm confusing it again. And the last one, Life's Too Short. This trilogy kicks off with The Friend Zone, which is why I'm going to talk about this. And our FMC in here has a great life. She has a really funny and cute dog that I love. I always love when there's an animal in the book that's like so cute and just chaotic. And she starts planning her best friend's wedding, and that's when she meets the best man. And he is funny, sexy, charming, everything that you could ever want in a man. But he loves children and wants a big family, and that might not be in the cards for our FMC. And so, for the sake of herself and her own heart and for him, she keeps him at arm's length and puts him in the friend zone. But when the chemistry is chemistrying and the attraction is attracting, it might be a bit hard to keep him far enough away to not get involved in one way or another. And what I love about this series is that it also has that fun wittiness that I talked about with Ali Hazelwood, but it also has that deeper side where it's actually it's more adult, and not in the way that it's like more graphic, but in the way that the issues that the couples deal with and the things that cause friction in their relationship and that causes them not drama but like intrigue for the story are actual adult issues. It's not, it doesn't read as juvenile at all, because that's a lot of sometimes the issue that a lot of people have with romances, is that the thing that causes friction and that hinders the relationship from moving forward is often juvenile, like a tiny miscommunication where like if you just open your mouth and spoke, it could have been solved. This is not that. It's actual issues, and that really bleeds into the next trilogy that I only own 2 physical copies of, but it's Part of Your World, the first book, Yours Truly the second, my personal favorite, and then Just for the Summer is the third book. I'm gonna put the cover in here, but I don't own a physical copy of that one. The same is true for this trilogy, is that the issues are adults, like things that adults deal with in their actual real life relationships, and especially in Part of Your World, because even though this is odd at times, because this also plays out in a small town partly, and that small town has some funny characters that are a bit odd and quirky, and there are some really funny but kind of weird scenes in this one that I just absolutely love, and it really brings that light part of the stories into light. That's a weird saying, but it's also like they deal with long distance, there's actual problems at the like workspace, in their personal private relationships with like, it's not juvenile at all, and I think it's often quite hard to find romance books that don't read at least a little bit as juvenile, and this one has really got that down to a T. But my personal favorite is Yours Truly. Like this one's so good. I suck at recommending books. I can't speak. I don't know. I need to calm down. I get too excited, I think. Amongst all of the romances, I have one interconnected duology so far, but there's a third book and a fourth book, but the third book's coming already in 2026, I think, and then the fourth in 2027, I believe. So I'm really looking forward to that. But until they come out, there's 2 books in this interconnected series already, and it plays out in our world, but it has fantasy elements, so it's not just any plain old romance, and the romance isn't as prevalent in these ones, but it doesn't make the romance any less good, because the pieces of the romance that we get in these books, so good, so good. But that is Bewitched and Uncharmed, yes, by Lucy Jane Wood. I flew through these are so good. Not only are the covers absolutely incredible, but they are witchy romance books that plays out in this world. But again, the romance it's more like their love stories, but not just the romantic type of love, but also like love for yourself, love for the people around you, love for what you do, for your dream. It's more like kind of like coming of age, but the characters are in their 30s, which maybe doesn't make sense, but it does once you've read them. As a 24-year-old who feels like she's behind in life, who read these about characters in their 30s who also feel behind in life, that was just so comforting, and it really made me feel like I wasn't alone, and that maybe my life is just playing out at the pace that it's supposed to, and you should go at it how you want and not care about what life thinks you should do, or society, or whatever. But so the first one that you should read is Bewitched, even though Uncharmed plays out after, but they play out in the same world. There's some familiar faces that we meet in Uncharmed from Bewitched. You should read Bewitched first because it's the first one, Uncharmed second, but it plays out before Bewitched, if that makes sense. This is about Belladonna Blackwood, and just that name, guys, I've said this before, no, I said it wrong, Belladonna Blackthorn, and that's even better than what I said. But just that name, like that's a main character name if I've ever had it. Like, I've never had a main character name that's more main character than Belladonna Blackthorn. She works in a cozy little bookstore in London. It also plays out in England, which for me is a plus because so much plays out in America, but I just want something, more books that play out in England. And this bookstore is the coziest. Bella hasn't really used her magic much, but she's coming up on her, I think it's her 30th birthday actually. Yes, and she gets a summons from her covens where she has to go through a trial where they are going to decide if she gets to keep her magic or not. And when she's about to lose her magic, Bella suddenly realizes that, oh shit, I really want to keep my magic. It's actually a big part of me. She also has a really cute cat familiar, and so does the character in this one. There's this guy who is a part of the coven who, when Bella hasn't responded to her summons because she hasn't received it, shows up at her bookstore and is like, hey, you need to come to this trial. And she's like, hey, why are you an asshole? And then things kick off from there. She also, in order to prove that she's worthy of her magic, gets to work with this adorable man who has a sordid path, and some things come to the surface when she works with this man, and it turns out that things are a lot more dark and twisted than they originally seemed. This one is about a bakery owner who has to take care, she's put in charge of a young witch whose magic is out of control, and she is sent to this little cabin with this young girl who is always angry, and she is a teenager with hormones and her magic is crazy, and she has to try to teach this teenager to control her magic. But it turns out that the cabin that they were sent to isn't unoccupied. There's a grumpy forest man living in that cabin, and then things happen. They're so cute and they are so good, and I can't wait for the third and fourth book. I am so excited. I flew out of my chair when the author posted that there will be a third and fourth book. This is my favorite romance series probably of all time, and it's probably never going to be beat, and that is the Addicted Calorie series. Now, this is a hit or miss for a lot of people. A lot of people don't read past the first book because they have issues with the first book, which is understandable because it's not your everyday romance. It's quite different. The series is quite long. If you see that shelf right there with the white books, that's all of their books. And up until the pile right there, that's the same. Well, it's every book on that shelf is in the same world and just interconnected in one way or another. We start with Addicted to You, which is the very first book in this universe, and our FMC and MMC are Lily and Lauren, and they are addicts, which is why people have a bit of a hard time sometimes with this book. You're either gonna absolutely love it because it is incredible, or you might find that a bit difficult to read and deal with, and then that's okay. And you should always read trigger warnings and make sure that you do what's best for yourself. I will always advocate for that because I have things in my past that makes certain books with triggers that I can't read them, you know, so always put yourself and your well-being first. Lily is not just any addict, she is a sex addict, and Lauren is an alcoholic, and they are fake dating to hide their addictions from their families, and it turns out that it may not be as fake as they think it is, and they can't hide forever. The sex addict thing a lot of people find difficult. I've never read about a sex addict, but especially considering that Lily is a woman, and I love that it really takes up the issues of like that it's not taken seriously a lot of the time. You're made very vulnerable, you can be put in very dangerous situations, and especially as a woman with the stigma and the sexism and misogyny around sex for women already, that brings another layer to Lily and her story, and it's just This series is so beautiful. It's an emotional roller coaster, but it's so worth it. In the 4th and 5th books, we swap perspective. So the first 3, well, the first 2.5 books, because one is a novella, are from Lily and Lauren's perspective. But the characters that we meet in the Lily and Lauren books get their own books later on. So Kiss the Sky is the 4th book, or 3.5, and it's about Lily's older sister and her love interest. This is my favorite. This couple is my favorite, but I love all of them. But these topics, I've never related to a character as hard as I did to Rose. She will forever be in my heart. I have the title literally tattooed on me, Kiss the Sky. It's also a quote. And then the 5th book is about Lily and Rose's younger sister. I know that the series is long, but it's so worth it. You will fly through these books. I read the entire series in like a week and a half, and I have reread them many times since. They are well loved and they are absolutely incredible. And after you read the Addicted Calloway series, and if you get hooked and you want to read more, I haven't brought those books down, but the Like Us series, that's that pile right there, is about the children of the characters in the Addicted Calloway universe. They continue with their kids and their love stories, and they are just as good as the Addicted Calloway books. Like Us series is about a couple of the children who are now adults. They're not YA, the children are now grown and they are adults. And then the Cobalt series, which is the first book is released, it's called Burn Bright, is about another couple of those children of the people in Addicted Calloway. So that it continues, but it's a separate, it can be read as separate. You don't have to have read anything before that to read the Cobalt series. You should, because it makes the Burn Bright book even better. And today actually they are releasing, the authors are announcing who the next Cobalt book will be about, and I'm so excited. The next series I'm gonna recommend you guys is the Perfect Sports Romance series, and that is the Windy City series by Liz Tomford. And it starts with Mile High, but my favorite is Caught Up because Kai Rhodes, that man, he's so hot. A single dad, oh, I love it. It starts with Mile High, but through this interconnected series we have baseball players and basketball players, yes, that's right, and hockey players. So we have a couple of different, you know, sport romances in this interconnected standalone. So there's a little something for everyone. And there will be another interconnected romance series after this one, because we meet the main character in one of those books in the last Windy City book. I don't know when that's coming out, but it will be coming out. The first book is a hockey romance, and that is about Sanders and Stevie. This has curvy FMC representation. I think she might even be plus size, which I don't see a lot, sadly, but I love it as someone who definitely isn't a size 0. I really love it when the FMC isn't described as being a stick, but still somehow have a massive butt and big boobs, you know, because even though they're written by women, sometimes it's a bit too stereotypical, but not this one. I love this one. And maybe controversial opinion, some people are like, you have to get through Mile High to read the other books because the other books are great and Mile High isn't as great. I don't agree. I think Mile High is the perfect gateway into this series. I think this book is really, really good. It's a sweet romance, and I love the dynamics between the FMC and MMC. Stevie is a flight attendant, and she is a flight attendant for the plane that flies these hockey players, this hockey team, when they go to competitions. And one of the hockey players takes an extra interest in her, and their romance kind of takes off from there. She also works with rescue animals, and there's a really sweet storyline with the rescue animals, at least one of them, and this hockey player who maybe didn't want to get an animal, but you know, he's in love, so they really annoy each other. He gets pissed off because she works for him, not the other way around, but she has a mouth on her and she doesn't take any shit from anyone, and she thinks he's really annoying and doesn't think that he walks on water, and is just like, ugh, these freaking hockey players. And it's from what I remember, it's really banter filled, and I love that didn't change once the romance actually got going. But I mean, Liz Tomford knows how to write sports romance. It's so good. And I'm doing a really poor job of convincing anyone at all to read these. And that brings us to our very last interconnected romance recommendation, and that is, if you want a small town romance, but like with the Sparrow Falls series, it has some deeper subjects, some deeper themes, and is a bit more adult in that way, not in the spicy way, but in the What Causes Friction way. The Edens series, which starts with Indigo Ridge. This is one of the better small town romances I've ever read. It also has found family, and it's also a family where it's about the siblings and their respective love interests. And we kick it off with Indigo Ridge. Our FMC in this one is, I think she's a sheriff actually, and she has taken a job in this small town where her dad lives, and he used to be the sheriff. But you know, she's a woman, there's some friction with her being the boss of everyone in this new town, and when she finds out about some cold cases that were suicides, she starts to dig into them a little bit, and that gets one of the men who live in this town, whose family kind of runs everything, it gets his hackles up because he doesn't like that she's digging into these cases that he thinks should stay cold because they were just suicides, but she thinks that they might not have been, and it causes some friction between the two, but then also an attraction sparks, and you know, who can resist that? There's some really good spice, but the romance is also really good. Again, my favorite is the second one, but all of them are really good, especially to read in like fall or winter because it's a bit darker, and it just gives me autumn and winter vibes. That was a bunch of interconnected romance series recommendations. My mind's kind of overrun with information, and I have read all of these, so I bet that your heads might feel very full after this. But I hope maybe you found something that you want to pick up, something that you were intrigued by despite my poor way of recommending it to you. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. As always, have a nice day, a nice week, a nice month, be kind to each other, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!